Okay, this is the big one. Usyk versus Gassiev, or Gassiev, the final of the World Boxing Super Series. Cruiserweights. This is the fight that, as people potentially call the fight of the year, a real, genuine fight between two of the best cruiserweights in the world. They've beaten everyone that's been put in front of them, and they've been left as the two baddest men in the cruiserweight division. A tremendous matchup between the boxer puncher in Usyk, the Olympic champion, and of course Gassiev, the brutal puncher that is dubbed as the cruiserweight version of Gennady Golovkin. So in corners, this is an interesting fight for people who have followed BWTM Sports or Bayloric TV for a while, because we've got kind of like exclusive backgrounds to both fighters' careers, particularly with Usyk. We knew that James El-Bashir was his trainer up to the point when he became WBO cruiserweight champion. So we got Usyk live on the channel, and we got to speak to Bashir. So we got to really know who Usyk was as a fighter. And of course, he then split with Bashir after he made his first defense of the WBO cruiserweight championship. Alexander Usyk, let's remember, when he beat Goacki for the WBO cruiserweight championship, for a guy, I would say not similar to Gassiev, but a guy that comes forward and lets his hands go. This was the same Goacki that beat Huck to become WBO champion. So in that fight, Usyk was able to use his footwork, boxing skills, and ability trained under the watchful and experienced eye of James El-Bashir to put on a graceful performance and capture the WBO title with very little marks on his face and a very, very, very great performance, great boxing ability. Gassiev, on the other hand, has put on some great performances as well, beating the likes of Lebedev and Doktius in his last fight with a tremendous knockout win. So coming into this fight, when you talk about Usyk, Gassiev, if you talk to most people, they're going to tell you Usyk's the guy who's going to win the fight, hands down, no doubt. Gassiev's a good fighter; he can punch a bit, but he's a dangerous puncher. But Usyk is going to win the fight. Now, I've got a very different take on this fight for a number of reasons. I've had exclusive talks with Abel Sanchez. As you know, we spoke to Abel up to a couple of days ago. We tried to get Abel on the phone, and we will try to get Abel again before the fight. Gassiev has progressed and has become a better fighter, fight after fight after fight. He's been under the same trainer, and himself and Abel Sanchez have worked tirelessly to get Gassiev to be at the level that he's at today, to be fighting Usyk, and has put on some devastating performances on his way there. Usyk, on the other hand, trained by Bashir, then split with Bashir and went with the assistant trainer to James El-Bashir. So if this is the assistant trainer to James El-Bashir, which was Usyk's mate as well, his friend, then that gives us an insight as to what this trainer can do and what this trainer can't do. Now, in between all of this with Usyk, he had Russ Anbar, the Katzman, and the gentleman who I think owns Rival Boxing, and Igor Klimas decided to set up a gym. In all this is going on in the background for, I think, Eastern European fighters. And Lomachenko's father was part of that as well. I mean, he's training there. He trains, obviously, Lomachenko. And, of course, Lomachenko and Usyk, both are Ukrainian. You know, they stick together. They're like brothers almost. And, you know, I think there is talk that Lomachenko's father was training Usyk at some point. Now, since Bashir left Usyk's camp, or was fired, whichever way you want to look at it, Usyk's style has somewhat, I will use the word eroded, and I'll say this much. Usyk was the one that used his feet, fast combinations, get in, get out, not interested too much of getting it toe-to-toe. And the only time Usyk was engaged with you is when Usyk thought you were hurt. And then he'd go and throw a flurry punch to get you out of there. Usyk's not known as a one-punch knockout artist in the first place. So he uses his skills, his footwork, and that's what he was known for in his amateur days and up to the point of when he was Bashir. Now, Bashir knows the assistant trainer. Obviously, the assistant trainer was in boxing 4 or 5 years. Bashir's been in boxing 40 years plus. So the experience level there, 5 years as a boxing trainer, or 4 or 5 years according to Bashir. So you look at this situation here. Usyk sacks or gets rid of Bashir, the experienced trainer, the guy with the great game plan and mastermind, to bring in an inexperienced trainer. Then he's had the Michael Hunter fight, he's had the Breeders fight, he's had the Huck fight, and now he's going to fight Gassiev. If you look at all those fights combined, yes, Usyk's won all those fights, but there's a clear difference between when he fought under Bashir. This is not a bias there. You can see it for yourself. The first thing is Usyk's hands. Under Bashir, he was well wrapped and his hands weren't a problem. Since Bashir left that camp, Usyk has had problems with his hand. If you look at certain pictures after Usyk has won fights in the dressing room, he has been using an ice bucket to cover his hands after fights. So whoever's wrapping Usyk's hands is not doing a great job with it, because Usyk is complaining with that. He's got hand problems. Number two, if you look at Usyk's face after fights now, his face, you look at the Breeders fight, his face is all marked up. A guy that's paying more attention to attack than defense. That's the second thing. Number three, Usyk's now changed his style. The trainer he has now, or he had, or we'll talk about that in a minute. The trainer he has, the assistant trainer who's Bashir's assistant trainer, is about attack, attack, attack. He's about aggressive fighting. He's about going forward, being impressive, putting punches together, and taking a guy out of there. So it's very different. It's anti-Usyk style, because Usyk's style is about boxing and moving. Now, Usyk does carry a good chin, and he takes a good shot, and, he's a strong guy. But that isn't what Usyk banks on. Usyk is a guy that likes to use boxing skills and ability, not use his chin as his defense. In recent fights, Usyk has been getting caught more and more and more. From the Hunter fight, where he wanted to engage with Hunter, to the Huck fight, to the fight with him against Breeders, the last fight. These are all fights that he's engaged more and more with. And when I say his skills have eroded, what I'm basically trying to say is that his skills, he's moved away from what he would have been trained with Bashir, and now he's moving into this attack, attack, attack style, which is a problem. Particularly if you're going into a fight against Gassiev, where you need to use all of your footwork and not allow a guy like Gassiev to set up shots. Okay? There's a problem with that. And so Usyk goes into the biggest fight of his career with a story that's been breaking, that he's actually quit or split from his mate and assistant trainer, because he said in previous fights that it wasn't working for him, that his trainer and Usyk wasn't happy with his performances. So now we have a situation with Alexander Usyk going into the biggest fight of his career with a question mark about who's going to be going into the ring with him, with issues about his trainer, with issues about Usyk not being happy with his training camps. So there's a real problem here for Alexander Usyk. And, what these fighters do when they win Olympic gold medals, you can look at Lennox Lewis, who did it, and a few others. What they tend to do is, when they think they get to a certain level in professional boxing, they feel that they don't need a trainer. I think the training is a waste of time, or they could cut corners. So they use their experience and their amateur career to fight in the pro game. And at the lower level, they get away with it. But when they get to the highest level, they end up getting exposed, clipped, knocked out, i.e. Lennox Lewis. He decided to have Pepe Correa in his corner rather than have a real fundamental trainer. He had a cheerleader in his corner, calling he's British and bad. And we all saw what happened against Oliver McCall. There was no way Oliver McCall was meant to win that fight. Emmanuel Stewart was in the other corner, and we all know what happened. With Gassiev, he's got a world-class trainer who's been there, seen it, and done it. And their game plan is going to be quite simple. They're going to get close to Usyk. They're going to engage with Usyk. They're going to want Usyk to open up. And when Usyk opens up, that's going to be their opportunity to land. They'll be landing body shots. We know what Usyk was dropped in the amateurs by Arthur Bertabiev or Berbatev, whichever one you want to pronounce it as. He was dropped in the amateurs with body shots. And Abel Sanchez, if you look at the Abel Sanchez style, they're about attack, 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 close the range down, work you to your body, trap you to ropes, and bully you. That's what Gassiev's going to try and do. Now, the percentages of Gassiev winning the fight against Usyk that boxed against Glowacki are, and then the Usyk that box against Breedis, the percentages in terms of Gassiev being able to hit and hurt Usyk have closed tremendously. The gap has narrowed. The percentages, and it's boxing is about percentages, hit and not get hit. The percentages definitely have reduced of Gassiev connecting and connective repeatedly and connecting to a point where he can cause a knockout and cause the upset. That gap has closed so much because Usyk now has gone to a style where it's going to be him engaging more. So people say, well, Usyk's not going to do that in this fight. Well, if he hasn't got a game plan, Usyk, or he hasn't got a trainer that can implement a game plan, then we're going to see. This is the toughest fight of Usyk's career, bar none. And people can say, well, you know, he's got Lomachenko's father. Lomachenko's father is going to help him out. Well, here's a word to the wise. Even if Lomachenko's father was helping him out, it didn't stop him getting hit. It didn't stop him getting caught with shots. It didn't stop his face getting busted up. And it certainly didn't stop his hands being getting injured. So we can all run to Lomachenko's father as a, you know, as a some form of savior. But at the end of the day, ultimately, Usyk's gonna have to do the fighting in there, and that's a problem. That's a big problem. Now I've been tipping Gassiev to win this fight from the day it was announced, and I said that I thought Gassiev and Usyk were going to get to the finals. And I said I've always felt that Gassiev would beat Usyk because I haven't seen Usyk improve. I've seen Usyk's style decline over the last 3 to 4 fights. So Usyk's got it on him to prove in this fight. And like I said, Abel Sanchez knows that Usyk broke up with Bashir. He himself has said, listen, you don't get rid of a trainer like that to employ a novice. You don't do those things, and we're going to capitalize on that. So it's a great fight. People are saying Usyk will win this fight on points, and Bashir said the same thing. If the fight is close and it's in Russia, I'll be interested to see. Now, Usyk, it did come out of his camp, or he came out of his mouth. He didn't particularly want to go to Russia and fight Gassiev because of the fact that he may get robbed and all the rest of the other things that go on in Russia. He wasn't up for that. He wasn't interested. It wasn't part of his original game plan. So the fight that he's in Russia now, and he didn't really want to be there, you know, that's another thing. So for me, it's an uphill battle for Usyk in this fight. He doesn't come into this fight as a favorite for me. He comes into this fight with some real issues. Gassiev has got one thing and one thing only to focus on. Follow what Abel Sanchez said to him. Get out there and the percentage game. And depending on how much Usyk has declined or regressed, because he definitely hasn't progressed under his trainer, we're going to find out whether the chickens are going to come home to roost in this fight. And will Usyk regret the fact that he's left Bashir? Because to me, it's been a bad move all around. The way that they split after Usyk on a number of occasions, even telling us live on the channel that Bashir was like a father to him, and he just split with him just via text. The people of Ukraine weren't impressed with Usyk either. They didn't like the way he handled that situation. Igor Klimas made statements like, we don't need Bashir. We don't need Bashir. He's not a very good trainer. Stuff like Bashir's a diva, and you know, Bashir doesn't know how to set up a training camp, and Bashir didn't know how to do this, and Bashir didn't know how to do that. Well, I can assure them of one thing. Bashir ensured that Usyk wasn't getting hit the way that he's been getting hit now. He ensured that Usyk's hands wasn't getting injured the way they were getting injured. And he ensured that Usyk used the full capability of his boxing ability. Sometimes promoters and managers need to keep their mouth shut and out of the way of fighters and the career of fighters. They need to do what they do best: promote, manage, and keep out of the training side of things, because they've got no clue. And the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Gassiev versus Usyk. All answers will be revealed come Saturday night. I just hope for Usyk. And the sad thing is, If Usyk does get beat by Gassiev, it will be a sad thing because we probably wouldn't have seen the best of Usyk. I would like to see the Usyk that was undertrained under Bashir versus the Gassiev now. I think that would be a great fight. Now we've got a good fight against a guy, one guy who's got a lot of problems in his corner, and the other guy who's just got one thing to do: get out there and cause a sensation. This is my breakdown. Thank you so much. Don't forget to rate and subscribe. This is BWTM. We're out. Thanks for watching.